Welcome, first grade teachers. In this video, we will use the CRA approach to help students understand operation connections. We will focus on the progression of the CRA approach and analyze ways to use the concrete and representational models to help students develop number fluency in the abstract stage. The focus will be TEKS 1.3e. Before we begin discussing the strategies, let's address any underdeveloped concepts that students may have. During Unit 2, students were introduced to the commutative property of addition, which states that the sum remains the same when the order of the addends is changed. As a result, students may be proficient in identifying related addition number sentences, but may struggle with determining the corresponding subtraction number sentences within a fact family. Some students may think subtraction is commutative rather than recognizing the minuend as the total amount and the subtrahend as the amount being subtracted. For example, 5 minus 3 is not the same as 3 minus 5 because the commutative property does not apply to subtraction with positive numbers. In order for students to develop a conceptual understanding of operation connections in first grade, students need to develop the academic vocabulary. An important term to introduce is fact families. Fact families are related number sentences that use the same set of numbers. Looking at three numbers in an equation and noticing the patterns in these numbers provides a critical insight about the relationships within numbers. Visualizing why these three numbers are connected and being able to explain this connection is important throughout students' work with math facts. Teachers should keep in mind that when teaching students about family facts, it is not about memorization, but rather about understanding the patterns and relationships among numbers to enhance their number fluency. To demonstrate the commutative property, educators can utilize read-aloud stories as a tool to assist students in connecting numbers and quantities to their real-world experiences. Students will use a set of counters to represent the numbers in the story. The teacher will then demonstrate how to write the equation to represent the model. It is advised to begin with addition sentences, with one of the addends being 0, 1, and 2, as students in the early stages of first grade are still building their number fluency. Then, teachers may pose guiding questions such as, can we say that one car was blue and 7 cars were red? What would that look like in a model, in a number sentence? Teachers can then prompt students to represent the statements using counters in an equation. Following this, teachers can further engage students by prompting them to identify patterns within the models and equations, ultimately guiding them to recognize that the numerical values remain consistent despite their arrangement. Teachers now have the ability to utilize the same story problem to illustrate subtraction using the same set of numbers. Teachers may utilize the same procedures as those employed for addition to guide students to identify patterns and relationships within the number sentences. When addressing subtraction problems, educators should refrain from making statements like subtraction always begins with a larger number. Such statements could cause confusion when using the equal sign at the beginning of an equation or when working with negative numbers. Instead, teachers must explain that in first grade, we subtract or take away from the total amount of items known as the minuend. After modeling addition and subtraction equations separately, teachers may proceed to show all models and equations together and encourage students to look for patterns and relationships using questions such as, what do you notice about the models? What do you notice about the numbers? What do you notice about the number sentences? How are the models the same? How are they different? Teachers are encouraged to maintain consistency in their instructional practices when introducing concepts like these. It is advisable to continue with simple addition and subtraction problems involving numbers 0, 1, or 2, and gradually incorporating larger addends as students develop fluency with numbers. To transition from concrete to representational models, educators may consider utilizing the strip diagram as a teaching tool. It is recommended that teachers demonstrate the use of this tool in conjunction with Unifix cubes to help students understand the correlations between both models. Another strategy that incorporates physical movement is known as jumping on the number line. Follow the same steps as outlined earlier, but this time instruct students to physically step on the number line and create equations to represent each step taken. For instance, consider the scenario where Jamie begins at number 7, takes 2 steps forward, and determine her resulting position, then stay on 9 and taking 2 steps backwards. Encourage students to write the number sentences as they explore the scenario. After physically jumping on the number line, students may see the connection with the pictorial representation of the number line. It is important to continue encouraging students to explore all 4 operations within the context of the number line, as this reinforces their conceptual understanding of fact families. Finally, the students may move to the abstract stage, where they may continue using number bonds as a tool to illustrate number relationships. It's important to continue discussing this concept with students and should be incorporated into your daily math talks. You can find these and other resources linked in the companion document. This concludes the explanation of the concrete and representational stages of the CRA progression to help students understand operation connections.